Forged on the gridiron in September. Perfected in the magic of March. For the fans who love the crunch of the pads. Prefer a dunk. And expect nothing but the best. This was the Big Ten. Now this is Bigger Ten. Here's Steve Deace.
Greetings and welcome to our final episode of Bigger Ten here in the year of our Lord 2024. I'm Steve Deace with my co-host, who will never be my partner, especially when he's as sick as he is today, the one and only Aaron McIntyre. Brother, welcome to life with not one but two small, adorable little germ factories in your home. How you feeling, my man?
I was sick 3 weeks ago, and I've just never been able to shake the stuff in my, I feel fine other than the cough. I should probably go get it checked out, but I'm here. You should have heard me this morning. I could barely talk this morning.
Was it that bad?
Yeah. I don't know how long I'll last here.
You might need an antibiotic.
Yeah.
Could be like an earache or something like that if it's lingering like that, my friend. All right. Well, let's muddle through with our final show before we break for the holidays. And we're going to talk by breaking down here in segment A, the college football playoff bracket. And there you see the official bracket, the Big Ten leading the way with 4 teams. Oregon, which was number 1 in the nation the last 8 weeks running, gets the overall number 1 seed, but hardly gets an easy draw. Ohio State in the 8-9 game could be awaiting Oregon in the Rose Bowl quarterfinal. Arizona State out of the Big 12 gets one of the byes. Georgia, champion of the SEC. Boise State, I really don't, Aaron, understand the fascination with them. I mean, lots of teams could lose to Oregon and beat UNLV twice. I have no idea why they are more deserving of a bye than the ACC champion, but here we are. The 5-12 matchup, Texas against Clemson down in Austin. Indiana, Notre Dame, the ticket prices for this one already I saw were over $1,300.
Yeah.
Those two teams don't play a lot anyway, but to play together against each other in a playoff game, the first postseason game ever played, too, at the stadium, the bowl that Knute Rockne built, that's going to be an incredible scene. And I think the biggest mistake that the committee made, it's not putting SMU in. I thought all along SMU was going to be in if they lost even close, because this committee is primarily made up of athletic directors, Aaron, and they don't want to devalue those conference championship games they make so much money off of. So SMU, I think, should have been in over Alabama anyway.
Yeah.
But how do you put Penn State in the playoff and not give them a night game for a whiteout? How does that happen? But they didn't. That game's going to be a noon Eastern game. So your thoughts on the bracket overall and the decisions that were made?
Well, Steve, I would like to share with you a very lengthy and probably stupid analogy, but maybe the shoe fits. I think being the college football playoff committee is a lot like being a police officer. Police officers have just not only a difficult, an impossible job. They are expected to be the cartilage between lawlessness and the law, and they are expected to do it perfectly. And not all cops are good. That's why I'm not back the blue no matter what. Not all cops are bad. That's why I'm not knife the blue no matter what. There are some cops who do an impossible job poorly, and some cops who do an impossible job well. I'm reminded, I think this happened in Ohio. A couple of cops were called out to a woman's house. She was having some sort of episode. They were trying to de-escalate. One of the cops was a little impatient with this woman. She has a boiling pot of water sitting on the stove. She gets up. She tries to throw it at the cop. It was boiling, but the cops didn't know what it was. It could have been oil. It could have been anything. Cop shoots her dead. Okay? Would you have preferred the cop probably not shoot her? I mean, she was across the room throwing a pot of boiling. Probably would have preferred that not to happen. But what's he supposed to do? He was in an impossible situation, and that's what he had to do.
What an analogy.
He did a bad job at an impossible job, but he had no other choice. That's what this was. It was a bad job at an impossible job. That's what this bracket was. Because as you said, how do you give them that path too? Yeah, they don't have a bye, but that's got to be the easiest path.
They got the easier path than Oregon, the team they lost the championship game to. It's not even freaking close, actually.
That's what I'm talking about. An impossible job done badly. Did that analogy work?
It's a pretty heavy analogy for the college football playoff, but we'll go with it. Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I thought about that. That giving Penn State, who hasn't beaten a top 5 team since before I was married, I think, giving them an easier path than Oregon, the number 1 seed, that's beyond the pale. But
on the other hand, given the format, how could they avoid it?
But that's the thing. It's an impossible job done badly, but like the police officer, what are you supposed to do?
Right. If the conspiracy theorist in me says this is just all setting the stage to justify growing the playoff again to 14, less likely 16 teams in 2026.
Yes. Because
you can alleviate the tension that's in this bracket. But given the format that they were given, I don't know how this was avoidable. I mean, now I think Ohio State should have been higher than an 8 seed, given the fact they played 3 top 5 games this year and won 2. But I'm one of those guys that thinks teams ought to be measured on what they're at, how good they are at their best and not their worst. We're in a sport of randomness with an oblong ball on a crown field and 18 to 22-year-olds. Okay, so I kind of want to know what I think their potential is when they're at their best, not necessarily when they're at their worst. Like Notre Dame was terrific all year long, except for one bad game against Northern Illinois. They look like a top 5 team basically the rest of the season, right? Yeah. Okay. So
and I still don't think that's the worst matchup for Indiana either.
I don't either. But I to me, I don't see that there's, that many teams better than Ohio State. But even if you swap it out, okay, you put Penn State in there instead of Ohio State. Well, here's the problem if you did that. So if Ohio State is the 6th seed because they beat Penn State on the field and Penn State's in the 8-9 game, well, now we're sitting here saying that the team who finished in 4th place in the Big Ten has an easier draw than the champion of the Big Ten. This was unavoidable. Because of the format and how the byes are given out, there's no way to resolve. Some form of tension was going to be in. There's no way to do like what the NCAA tournament does with the S-curve, to try to balance out, the median seed line in all 4 of the regions. There's no way to do that given this bracket, which tells you they're not going to do this much longer. They're going to go to 14, and maybe the top 2 teams get byes so that the Big Ten and SEC champion essentially gets a bye every year. Like in the NFL, there's 14 playoff teams, right? Yes. The top seed in each conference gets a bye. Everybody else plays. I could see that happen. I could see them go to 16. But, yeah, I mean, given this bracket, Oregon was really put behind the 8 ball and punished for winning the Big Ten. But any number 1 seed would have had this exact same problem because of the paradigm itself.
Yeah, indeed. So, like I said, it's not that I'm mad at the committee. It's just, it's an impossible job done badly, but they couldn't have done anything different. It's kind of a weird scenario.
Are you okay with SMU over Alabama?
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't even know what Miami's claim is. You're not even in your conference championship game. You don't have really any good wins at all. Florida is your best win at 7-5. Get out of here, basically.
Yep. I'm good with SMU over Bama.
And it's not like Alabama. Remember the year they had no top 25 teams.
Yep.
They beat and they got in 2017. They won the national championship that year. All right. So they got in last year with Florida State's disservice. So, I mean, it's not like Alabama's a victim here. Things have worked out pretty good for them over the years.
Yep, they're fine.
All right. Maybe don't lose 24-3 to 6-6 Oklahoma the third to last week of the season. Yeah. Don't do that. All right. Let's get to it. Here are our picks for this bracket. All right. I'll go through mine first, and then. Or you want to go round by round, or go through the whole thing
just
first?
Just go through your whole thing first.
All right, I'm picking all the home teams, which I hate doing chalk, but I don't know what kind of home field advantage this is going to provide this late in the year with the teams this evenly matched. Like I don't know that there's a weather advantage at all for Notre Dame playing a team from the same state. It could be for Penn State, for SMU, for example. But we've also never seen a team play a road postseason game in the history of FBS college football. So I don't know what to think. So I'm just going to pick all home teams. Plus, I think all the home teams are definitively better than the team they're playing on the road. Although I do think Indiana, if Curtis Rourke plays well, has a chance. The one thing I'm curious about is reverse home field advantage for Ohio State. If they get off to a slow start against Tennessee, that crowd that kind of turned on their own team and helped my Wolverines there a few weeks ago. Could that happen again? But beyond that, I'm picking all the home teams. In the quarterfinals, I've got Texas over Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. Ohio State, I think, beats Oregon in the rematch in the Rose Bowl. I think Penn State beats Boise State because Penn State beats everybody other than top 5 teams. So I think Penn State beats Boise State in the Fiesta, and I think Notre Dame beats Georgia without Carson Beck in the Sugar Bowl. My semifinals, I have Ohio State over Texas. Those two teams open the season against each other, by the way, next August. And then I've got Notre Dame beating Penn State in the Orange Bowl. Those teams have played a lot of classic games over the years, but they haven't played a lot in recent years. So that'll be a fun matchup. And then I have Ohio State over Notre Dame. Ryan Day saving his job by beating the Irish for the national championship.
So I have many of the same picks. I went for the most annoying and nauseating result. But we'll get to that in a minute. I've got Texas over Clemson like you, Ohio State over Tennessee, as you do. I've got Penn State over SMU. They should be able to roll, I think. And I have the one upset, basically, the one big upset in the whole probably field is Indiana over Notre Dame. In the quarterfinals, I've got Texas over Arizona State. I don't even know if I have these locations right. I've got Oregon over Ohio State. I've got Penn State over Boise State. And Georgia over Indiana. In the semifinals, I've got Texas over Oregon. And I've got Georgia over Penn State. In my national championship, we're doing round 3 of Texas versus Georgia. I've got Texas over Georgia. That's going to be the most nauseating and annoying outcome. After all of this, Alabama, you think they're annoying now? If that's the outcome, that's why you should have put us in. It was an all SEC championship game. So that's my pick.
So you think Georgia without Carson Beck can still win it all?
Yeah.
Okay. That's basically the biggest difference of opinion the two of us have. I don't think they can. I was not impressed with Gunnar Stockton at all against Texas in the SEC championship game. But to be fair, he also wasn't planning on playing. You have to think he probably didn't get that many reps all week long in practice, right? Because he's the backup and you're getting ready to play for a championship. So we'll see. He was a big-time high school recruit, but those are big shoes to fill for sure. All right, so that's how we think the college football playoff and the first iteration of the 12-team format will go. When we come back here in a few moments, let's look at the rest of the bowl game matchups for the Big Ten, and we'll discuss. All right, back here on Bigger Ten, Steve Deace alongside Aaron McIntyre. So, Aaron, we've already broken down how we think the college football playoff will go. I have Ohio State making it to the national championship game against Notre Dame. You do not believe a Big Ten team will get that far. We both think Penn State, with its draw, will get to the semifinals, however, because it does have a very favorable draw. What about the rest of the Big Ten bowl games? And, of course, all these are meaningless scrimmages.
Yes, which is why we're doing the rating these graphics on a scale of 1 to 10, again, because that's about as meaningful as
correct.
As
these games, we're talking teams, a lot of these are going to be teams that have maybe 50 playable players with all of the opt-outs and guys graduating and everything else. All right, so let's get to it, okay?
It's the Pinstripe Bowl, Nebraska versus Boston College.
That is pretty cool.
It's not bad.
I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now
the
game,
Nebraska sailboat out there on the Hudson.
Yeah. Now the game, if you're a Nebraska fan, you've waited 8 years for a bowl game and you're going to, New York City at Christmas time is something else, but it's post-Christmas, it's outdoors, it's Yankee Stadium, it ain't exactly warm, right?
Do you see any, I saw some, I think the word was smoke. There's smoke about Raiola to Miami. Do you think that's even within the realm of possibility?
There was enough smoke that he came out and said it wasn't going to happen.
Which probably means it is.
But you're talking about a kid, how many high schools did he go to? 5?
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
4 or 5. So, and he was committed to more than one school in the recruiting process. So we shall see what happens if Miami drops a large bag there. But remember, his dad also is an alum. Kind of hard to go to burn your alma mater like that, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, next.
I'm giving this graphic 7 out of 10.
Oh, I'm going to give it I think that's a good score. I think 7 out of 10 is pretty solid. I'll do the same. This is
not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the Vegas Bowl.
And that's the best you got. What is this?
I don't know what that is. I'm giving it a 1. It's horrible. What is that? That is a metaphor for USC season. Lead in the fourth quarter.
Oh, I see what it is. It's supposed to be a playing card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, 1.5.
Yeah.
I'll go up. Yeah. I'll raise it up. What's all the, and then the scribbly USC?
Yeah, you can't even see the S.
Yeah, yikes. Yeah,
I'm at a 1. And they're playing Texas A&M. That's...
who knows how many players for each of these schools?
Yeah.
In each of these games, we have no idea who's playing.
Yeah.
We don't. That's awful. I'm at a 1.5.
Yeah, I'm at a 1. 10 out of 10.
For the Sun Bowl with Tony the Tiger in the background there?
Just because of that.
I do like he's sitting there like, I'm going to kick your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If there was a way to make the greatest cereal box of our youth menacing, they managed to do it. I like it.
So it's Washington versus...
Louisville.
Yeah, I'm just looking up some of the lines here. You notice that it's hard to come up with any commentary for this.
Because we don't know who's playing in any of these games.
Have no idea what any of these games are going to look like. Let me look up.
Basically, Nebraska's entire team, except for Dylan Raiola, is in the transfer portal right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite. BTW.
Okay.
2.5-point favorite. Ready to move on?
Oh, I'm giving that an 8.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's the best one so far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, this is just, it's a nice bowl trip for Rutgers going out to Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Tough opponent with Kansas State, but it's just a Rutgers helmet on a desert highway. That's it.
Yeah. We couldn't. And what's the deal with the balloons in the background? Is there some sort of balloon festival? Kansas State is a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, at least give me a Scarlet Knight riding a cactus or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 3.
Yeah, I'm at a 2.
Okay.
Duke's Mayo. But
this looks like the cover of a media guide more than a promo. So this is the bowl game in Charlotte. The winning coach takes the mayonnaise bath at the end. Minnesota taking on Virginia Tech, 2 schools with very similar color schemes, by the way.
Minnesota is a 5.5-point favorite against Virginia Tech. I'm giving this. There's no imagination at all. I could have done that. I'm not that great at Photoshop.
Yeah, I'm giving that like a 4.
Yeah. 3.
I mean, it's not terrible to look at, but it's just it's not original. No. By the way, when was the last time Minnesota played in a January bowl game? It feels like it's been a minute.
Have they been to the Outback? Didn't they go to the Outback Bowl the year that they beat Penn State?
Did they?
I think so.
So that been 2019?
Yeah.
With that 11-win team? Yeah, you're probably
So that
right.
has been a while ago.
And then before that, how far back would you think you'd have to go?
A long ways.
Probably a long ways. Yeah.
This one's not bad. I mean, it's a little mute. This is the ReliaQuest Bowl, the artist formerly known as the Outback Bowl. By the way, the Detroit, the Quick Lane Bowl, that doesn't have a Big Ten affiliation anymore. Well, it's not even the Quick Lane.
It's the top sports
agent. It's the Rise Above.
Rise Above, yeah.
And it doesn't have a Big Ten affiliation anymore. Good riddance.
Because we didn't have enough teams to qualify.
Oh, really?
That's why. Yes.
That's
I remember
why.
all the Pac schools are still tied to their old bowl alignment.
Okay.
So we didn't have enough schools to fill it with Wisconsin and Michigan State losing.
Yeah.
I'll give that a 5. The helmet is iconic. I like the rendering of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a disappointing season. If you're Michigan, you don't want to really do it up like this is something special, right?
Yep.
It is kind of weird. At Michigan, you started the year on January 1 with Alabama. You ended December 31st with Alabama. I'll give it a 5. And that's really just because that drawing of the helmet is pretty cool, but the rest of it is meh.
I'll give it a 6 because I do like the rendering of the helmet. They've got the texturing on there. That's pretty nice. Alabama, a 10-point favorite.
It was 12.5 when it opened. This is the best one so far. I love this.
Jay Higgins, like a giant on Broadway.
Right down Broadway there in Nashville. That's smooth. I'm giving that a 9.
Iowa versus Missouri in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. Missouri is a 3-point favorite. TransPerfect is it's an app that helps you learn languages or something.
Yeah, you probably want to clarify that these days.
Yeah.
How do you feel playing in the Trans Bowl?
The Trans Bowl.
Down there in the Bible Belt, of course. Nevertheless,
I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm giving that a 9. That is phenomenal. I love that. That's great.
All right, we've got Illinois, South Carolina in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. This is our last one, by the way. Who is that Altmaier?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out.
These ones where they just use the stadium. It's like, come on. There's nothing. Well, I guess it is. I guess it is Orlando. I mean, I don't know. South Carolina is
with everything to do in with everything in Orlando. A giant player standing on the stadium is all we've got. There's nothing Disney, nothing Universal, nothing else. I mean, it's not terrible, but the lack of imagination given the potential of the site to me. I mean, 3.
You got the Kennedy Space Center or SpaceX close by.
3 maybe.
I'll give it a 4.
That's another team doesn't play in a lot of January bowls. You think they might have made a bigger deal out of that?
Yeah, it's a big Citrus Bowl is supposed to be a big deal, a bigger deal.
I wonder if everybody saw Iowa's for the Music City Bowl and just gave up.
Called it quits, maybe.
Because the Riz on that one is off the hook, as the kids say today.
Kind of a disappointing year in graphics.
It is.
I'm glad we have this segment. Because, I mean, we've done this 3 years in a row now where we just rate the graphics.
It's better than, it's the best analysis we can do.
Exactly. Thank you.
We literally have no idea who's playing in any of these games. We don't have a clue. We don't. All right, we'll come back. We've got our X-Poll results and our feedback of the week here in a moment. All right, our X-Poll results this week. Looking at the bracket, which Big Ten team will last the longest in the college football playoff. 56% of you said Oregon. 28% of you said Penn State. 14% said Ohio State. Only 3% said Indiana. I think Ohio State's being disrespected a little bit, but I definitely think Penn State has the most favorable draw overall for sure.
Yeah, I think.
Like the whole field, not just in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think you got to at least put Penn State closer to Oregon or even flip it just because of the draw. But, I understand Oregon is King Kong right now. So people are going to be high on them, but I think just because of the draw, you gotta put Penn State higher. And I agree, Ohio State's getting a little bit too much shade at the moment. All right, you ready for the feedback?
Yeah, let's do feedback. Joe Hugan says this could not have been said any better, and I like being complicated or I do like that too, but I like being complimented. You want to talk? What does a lukewarm hell looks like? Penn State under James Franklin. 3-19 against top 10 opponents. 0-14 against top 5. 1-14 against top 5 opponents. 3-19 against top 10 opponents.
Yeah.
But they're going to beat everybody else. They are going to beat everybody else. And the good news is they're playing a couple of everybody else's to start off the college football playoff. But
man, I finally took James Franklin's back after the Maryland game where Mike Loxley got all pissy.
Whining about running up the score.
And I had his back, and I knew this was going to happen. He showed his douche side again after the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, called it the JV setup because you're there every year. You get to Big Ten Conference championship game. Yeah.
That's James Franklin, though. I mean, he was right. I mean, some of the calls, kind of head scratchers, but be the bigger person there. Come on,
no doubt. All right, that's going to do it. For another episode of Bigger 10, another year of Bigger 10. In fact, so hope all of you greatly enjoy your Christmas and New Year's. We'll see you all here in early January. In the meantime, please like, rate, subscribe, share, 5-star review. Do all of those things to help us find more Big Ten sports fans just like you. Leave us your thoughts here in the comments section as well. What do you think about the bowl promos? Which ones did you like the best? That's as good analysis as any with what goes on with these rosters nowadays heading into the postseason if you're not in the games that matter. Also, don't forget you can follow us between now and our next episode on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Bigger 10 there. We're trying to keep up on as much of the transfer portal news. The Big Ten just unveiled the schedule for next year for football as well. So we've got commentary up on all of that as much as we can on X in the moment, in real time, at Bigger 10 there, at Bigger 10 there. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. For Aaron McIntyre, I'm Steve Deace. We'll see you in 25.